I've waited long enough. Today's the day. Face my fears. We get to work. We reassemble the Ferrari's engine bay. Wait a second. This is all put back together. I sure didn't leave it like this.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
Grinch, did you do this?
I wanted to catch your reaction when you saw that Ferrari put all back together. And before you know it, I'll have your Porsche Turbo running like it's new.
Oh, that would just be terrific. Thank you so much.
Now it's proof Sam Crack doesn't really work on his own cars.
Not only is a Simply Safe home security system monitored by professionals that can contact the appropriate authorities in the case of an emergency, it also can be monitored by you, wherever you might be. Using your smartphone and the Simply Safe app, you can get a live view of what's going on in and around your home through your Simply Cams. Setup of one of these cameras only takes a few seconds. You place it wherever you want and you plug it into the wall. And the cameras aren't the only thing that's easy to install. I installed the entire home security system in under 20 minutes. You can customize a Simply Safe security system for your living space. And the one thing I like is you could always add on in the future. I just ordered the Simply Safe automatic door locks, which can be accessed via, again, your smartphone to lock or unlock your doors remotely. And that's actually a big deal for me. Believe it or not, I get locked out of the house all the time. I leave my keys inside. My wife leaves. She locks the door. And she's out at the store, and I go to get back in the house, and, well, you get it. Now I can just go on my phone, hit a button, and the doors will unlock for me. With sensors and cameras that protect pretty much every aspect of your home, Simply Safe is one of the highest tech security solutions available on the market today. And it comes with 0 contracts. It's the new school way to protect your home, and you could check it out by visiting simplysafe.com/samcrack or by simply clicking my link in the description box below. Make your house the smartest and safest on the block. Again, that's simplysafe.com/samcrack. And I want to give a huge thanks to Simply Safe for sponsoring this video.
In the last month, I bought a salvage Mercedes, began its rebuild, imported a JDM auction Nissan Figaro, traveled over 1,000 miles to rebuild a Tesla in a friend's garage, and captured some of the custom work that was being done to our total Lamborghini project. But in between all this, I couldn't stop thinking of the old, neglected Ferrari. You see, less than 12 hours after disassembling its engine bay, I flew out of town, which meant leaving all the fasteners to this complicated mess sitting on a tree stump, and the major engine wiring harnesses in a jumbled up ball. My brain serving as the only guide on how to put all of it back together. Even through a ton of diagnosis, I couldn't really attribute my problems to the manifold. I decided to remove it anyway to clean the pools of oil left from my overfilling incident, at the same time refreshing all the gaskets in case they are creating some sort of vacuum leak causing my engine to misfire. According to Ferrari, to remove the manifold on a convertible or spider car, you must remove the entire convertible top using an engine hoist. Just that part of the job books 9 hours at $225 per hour. Luckily, we were able to remove this by angling the manifold and working from the engine access panel in the car, all with the convertible top in place. I have to give a huge thanks to my friend Spencer, who came over and filmed this process, as it would have been near impossible for me to take video while moving every few minutes between the engine bay and the cabin over about a 10-hour span. I've put the assembly part of this job off just because I was afraid of it. I didn't even want to think how it would go back in and if it would even cure my engine misfires, but the truth is that we haven't really broken the bank on this car yet. All the parts and services I've had to purchase have been minuscule compared to what they'd be at the dealer, which means a Ferrari is still cheap, but I've let enough time lapse here. It's time to find out how long we can keep our cheap Ferrari, a cheap Ferrari.
Here's our manifold. Here's a fresh piece of hose that I bought because I cut the piece that goes in the rear. There are 2 hoses that hook up to the rear of the manifold. They're going to be impossible to get to once the manifold is in place. So we're going to hook up this tiny line right here. We're going to hook up that new hose, snake them in the back. Then we'll be able to sit our manifold in place. That is after we put in our 4 new gaskets on each side. So 8 in total. Cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's also important because once our manifold is in place, we'll be able to hook up our unhooked harnesses. There's one that goes into there. It's that blue plug right there. There's also one that plugs into this yellow one right here, which is somewhere over here. Then this is going to be the tricky part. We're going to have to mount the harnesses, this what they call the rat's nest here. See, there's a mount there. There's a mount also right over there. Those mount to the bottom of the intake manifold. And once that is all mounted, we're going to want to route our ignition wires where they go. See, that's number 7, so that's going to go back there. They actually snake underneath some valleys in the bottom of the manifold Once everything is routed, we can then begin fastening everything in place. There's a lot of stuff to fasten in place, reassembling our engine bay, putting in any new parts we have, and start the car up. There's the gaskets all seated, a dab of RTV. Here's our intake manifold about to go in. And really what we got to try and do is just center all these wiring harnesses. Since I'm by myself, this has to lay in flat. You can see how there's a wiring harness that goes right over the last stud in the back corner there. We just got to try and push it out of the way with the corner of the manifold. So yeah, let's organize this a little bit, or clutter it up really, by throwing everything in the center. And then once it's in the center, you see, you fish them all out. See, because this is all connected. So they need to come out of each area depending on where they all go in. So this is gonna be fun. It's always the jobs that you dread the most that go by pretty quickly. And so about 3 hours later, all of this is in place. I've set our new upper manifold gaskets in place, and I put a couple screws just to make sure they're aligned properly. And in each corner, I've got a little bit of gasket sealer. That way, when we put our top cover on, it doesn't move very much. Now, I've even got all the wires routed underneath the manifold, and all of our 8 brand new coil packs are installed. So we are about 60% of the way there. There's a ton of fasteners that are gonna go in the engine bay, but there's only 2 that I'm concerned about. It's these 2 back here, 1 and 2. Those are very tough once the cover is over to reach over and grab and kind of screw them, and they go upside down in. I think I got those undone by doing them inside the interior. However, with this in place, we can't move it around very much anymore because we'll destroy the gaskets underneath. So I posted a job on Craigslist requiring the smallest hands possible, and Zach came over.
Hi, Sam. You know what to say about small hands?
What's that?
Small gloves.
All right, well, get that glove on, Zach. You think you can get this done?
Oh yeah, let's knock this out.
All right, and Zach is on YouTube under Ultimate Rebuilds. Make sure you check him out. I'll drop a link down in the description box. All right, first we got to plug the vacuum line in the top here. That should go right in. Perfect. Is that all the way down?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Now, without sliding it too much around here, it should just go right on top, like that. And then just to hold it in place before you attempt those 2. I mean, look at how much space is now behind there, none. The top cover's in with just a few screws here. That way it doesn't shift around. When Zach goes from the interior here, that's where we're gonna start. We're gonna use this ball-headed Allen key and try and just fit this in place. So these are by far the 2 toughest screws, and I think the one that Zach's about to do is the tougher of the 2. But what's cool is he just said from that angle it's not as bad. When I was doing it, I was sitting right here in the passenger side, and it was pretty darn difficult. So let's see if that might be a little bit simpler. And really, once that's all done, there's definitely a few more tough ones to get to. You see, like down here where the manifold bolts to the head, these studs that come up, those are obviously easy, but there's some all the way back behind where the injector goes in there. I think we'll have to get those from inside the car as well, but those are a bit easier to get to than what Zach's working on right now. Should be downhill from here. Here's where we're at. We've got a 100% assembled engine bay. All our O2 sensors are back. Our fuel rails and injectors are placed and bolted back in place. This is how this car was before I started tearing it apart. There's only one thing that's stopping me from starting it up right now, and that is that I took the accessory belt off right here. So I accessed that from in here inside the cabin, and in order to get that back on, well, I got to get back underneath the car. I got to play with the tensioner, and once I get that belt over the tensioner, this is ready for its first startup in over a month. All right, it's very tight working quarters under here, but as far as I can tell, everything is back in place. I rerouted our fresh hose. It went in right there. And then this is the tensioner bolt for this, but you also have to loosen this pulley right here, wrap it around the back. It's a complicated belt tensioner, and I don't have a lot of confidence in it, but I did get it nice and snug here. And this actually turns in reverse fashion. So left is actually not loosening it, it's tightening things, and right is, you know, it's opposite. At this point, there's a couple covers that go over here and up inside the cabin. But just for the sake of seeing what things look like while the engine is running and time, let's go ahead and crank this thing over and see if it runs correctly and if our misfires go away. It's been a long time since we've heard those quality Ferrari noises. Let's get this seat set. And first thing I'm going to do is just turn the key, get some of the fluids moving around. Mostly just the fuel. Let's see here. Key in the ignition. I gotta move the steering wheel with my knees. Our check is okay. We're gonna shut it off again. Do it one more time. Okay, maybe that's the immobilizer. You don't get in a Ferrari in a while, you forget about this system. Let's do it again. Hit it one more time. Let's see if that does it. Oh no. Something is not hooked up. This is what I was afraid of. If there is one unhooked harness, and there are harnesses that go to all the fuel injectors in the engine bay there, we are game over. This job starts all over again. It's not getting any fuel. All right, lucky break here. If you guys remember, I tested everything, including the fuel pump relays, and well, I left them unplugged. And I think they go right. Here's one side fuel pump relay, and I think I got the other side out too. I put that back. Nope, here's the other one right here. Well, no fuel would be a reason we would get a no start. Let's try that again. Try number 2 with the fuel pump relays in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. That loud chirping was coming from our main accessory belt here, which I went ahead and removed. I'm pretty sure that I broke the pin that holds the tension in place. It's on the underside of the car, but you see that stud coming out where a pulley would sit? That is how that system works, and I must have gone the opposite way on it whenever I took it apart. So that is my fault. Luckily, the pin is only about 20 or 30 bucks. So I'm gonna have to order that, and we'll have to repair that. But for right now, I wanna run this car with the accessory belt off it. There's 3 accessory belts. There's another one right here, and there's another one down here for the AC compressor. So basically, our alternator won't be running, and also our power steering. That's not a big deal. I'm mostly concerned to see if all of the disassembly and assembly in the engine bay has cured our misfiring problems. So at the very least, we should be able to just start it up and hear what's going on. Now with the belt removed, let's see how this engine sounds and runs, and then we're going to try and let it idle for at least a minute or two, and we'll see if it's got any check engine codes like before. So we do have our battery light on the dashboard, obviously because the alternator is not running. There seems to be some fluid leaking on this side of the manifold. Man, look at that. I gotta shut this thing off. Oh yeah. Let's hope nothing's on fire here. That's not good. Oh shoot, it is on fire.